Thank you. Distinguished colleagues, dear participants of the forum. First of all, I would like to thank the organizers for inviting me to this meaningful Samarkand Forum on Human Rights. And as I am under strict control of our distinguished moderators, I hope I will be able to respect the allocated time. Amid the triple planetary crisis of climate change, pollution, and biodiversity loss, it is imperative to design and implement urgent and decisive climate policies and actions that address both mitigation and adaptation challenges. A human rights-based approach must be at the center of designing such policies and actions. This approach requires that climate action is consistent with existing human rights protected under the international human rights law that provides a comprehensive range of both legally binding and non-binding instruments. Among these instruments, the Resolution 76/300, adopted by the United Nations General Assembly, recognizing the human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment, should be emphasized. Climate change is not merely an environmental issue. It is a profound human rights crisis. Those who contribute least to the problem are often the most vulnerable to its impacts. Women and girls, elderly, migrants, refugees, persons with disabilities, communities in low-lying islands, indigenous peoples, peasants and farmers, and urban poor are disproportionately affected, facing heightened risks to their lives, safety, health, and livelihoods. The International Human Rights Framework complements the current international legal climate framework represented by the UNFCCC and its additional instruments like the Kyoto Protocol and the Paris Agreement. The preamble of the Paris Agreement clearly calls on states to apply existing human rights frameworks in the context of climate change. Integrating a human rights-based approach to climate policy making generates more effective and sustainable policy outcomes by incorporating the local level needs. It empowers the rights holders by providing legal protection before and after climate-related harm and enhances the accountability of duty bearers, primarily states, but also the private sector responsible for guaranteeing human rights. Therefore, addressing climate change through a human rights lens is not just a moral imperative, but a practical necessity to create resilient, just, and sustainable societies. But what does the human rights-based approach to developing climate policies entail specifically? First of all, it is crucial to mainstream human rights, including the human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment in all climate-related policies and actions. It is crucial to guarantee a just transition to a net zero pathways and green economy while ensuring the respect of human rights, including the human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment. It is important to acknowledge the fact that the access by the rights holders to the human right to a clean, healthy, and sustainable environment is essential for the fulfillment of all human rights and strengthen the promotion of a human rights-based approach to climate action. Recognize this human right, as did Uzbekistan, ensure its effective implementation, and ensure the justiciability of this right at the national level, granting the access to justice to the rights holders and giving the opportunity to the right holders to hold national authorities accountable for their climate actions or inaction. States should conduct comprehensive gender and human rights impact assessments for all climate projects and policies to identify potential risks and benefits, ensuring that climate actions do not harm human rights and contribute positively to their realization. Strengthen the capacity of governments, national human rights institutions, and local communities to implement human rights-based climate policies. Ensure inclusive and meaningful participation of affected communities, marginalized and vulnerable groups in climate-related decision-making processes. Acknowledge the vital role of indigenous peoples and environmental human rights defenders in the collective efforts to combat climate change and facilitate their important work. Raise awareness and understanding of the adverse effects of climate change on local levels and ensure everyone the access to information and education, including youth. Foster collaboration among all the relevant stakeholders, and as the global threat needs collective efforts. In conclusion, as we confront the unprecedented threat to humanity posed by climate change, it is imperative that all mitigation and adaptation policies integrate a human rights-based approach, protecting the most vulnerable and upholding the dignity of all individuals, both present and future generations, leaving no one behind. Thank you for your attention.